So, as always, a bit of a tradition now for me, especially during the COVID-19 lockdown. The first thing I'd like to do is get you all participating. So, in your chat box, what do you feel like expressing this morning? Just in your chat box, what do you feel like expressing? Still waking up. TGIF, I think I know what that means. Joy, I like it. Concern, okay, so I might come to Rebecca. We've got relief. Been for a 10K this morning. I guess you're feeling energized then. Apprehension, positive. Need to find out more about webinars. Okay, well, maybe I'll do a webinar about how to do webinars. Optimistic, motivated, interested. Optimism, fantastic. Good to hear it. Ready to plan, I love it. Fantastic. It's good use of your time. This business owner work, doing this stuff. So let's just go to Rebecca. Let's find Rebecca. So Rebecca, I'm just going to unmute you for a second. You're self-muted, Rebecca. Can we have a chat?
Sure, sorry.
No, please don't apologise. I just wondered, what are you concerned about, Rebecca?
Well, I'm still, obviously, slightly different to many on here probably is that I'm employed. It's not my business.
Okay.
So I have no control over sort of what they do. I mean, I'm here. Hopefully, I can make recommendations to them, having seen this as well. But I'm still generating leads, a lot of them. My pipeline can take between 2 weeks to 2 months. So my concern is getting leads to convert during this difficult time. I'm confident in my pipeline, but I'm not confident that they're going to convert. And I think the business is working on the basis of sort of cash is king right now. So that's my concern, is really convincing the company to keep going with what I'm doing in terms of leads, because otherwise in 2 months' time, my pipeline is going to be empty.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like it makes perfect economic and business sense to keep generating leads during this period, even if they don't convert during this period, because when people come out the other side of this, if the plans that the government have made for us come to fruition, there will still be cash available. And if there's still cash available, people want to restart their business as quick as possible. So I think you're doing the right thing. I don't think there's any challenge there at all. I think what I would challenge you to do is to start thinking about ways in which maybe you might be able to convert during this COVID-19 lockdown. Now, it's not something that necessarily I'm going to be covering in any great detail today, but if you want to avail yourself of a half an hour one-on-one telephone call with me, I've got some ideas that I might be able to share with you, because I've got quite a lot of my clients have pivoted their sales and marketing. Some of them have even pivoted their operations during the COVID-19 lockdown, and they're doing very well. So maybe we can have a half an hour chat one-on-one on the telephone, and I might be able to share some insights with you. Is that all right?
Great, thank you so much.
No problem at all. So listen, there's nothing wrong with being concerned, ladies and gentlemen, but what I do want to do is make sure that we're not panicking or we're not worried. And one of the benefits of planning is that you turn that panic or worry into a plan, and you're naturally going to feel an awful lot better about things. Because once you know that you've got stuff that you can actually do, things that you control, things that you can influence, then obviously all you can do is your best, and a plan really helps you with that. Okay, so let's get stuck in then. Let's have a look at this whole process. So, formula for success. So raise your hands if you'd like to know a guaranteed formula for being successful. Yeah, that's pretty much everybody. Great, fantastic. Well, here it is. And, I guarantee that if you bear this in mind for the rest of your life, you'll be successful. Okay? Simple as that. Everything starts with a dream. Napoleon Hill, if you've ever read the book Think and Grow Rich. And by the way, raise your hands if you've read that book. Okay, not so many, not so many. A few people that have read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm going to say it's a personal development classic, ladies and gentlemen. And when you bear in mind when it was written, way back in the 1920s, well, actually the 1930s, it was Great Depression, actually. It really is a seminal piece of work. And Napoleon Hill, in his book, Think and Grow Rich, he said that everything is created twice. First, it is created in the mind, and then it is created in reality. And I think that's one of the amazing things about human beings. We have this ability to dream and then turn those dreams into reality. So anything that has ever been done has really started off in our heads. And I think it's a good starting point for all of us. So some of us dream of going into business and becoming multi-billionaires. Some of us dream of just having the independence of not having a boss telling us what to do. Some of us dream about earning more money from the skill set that we've created for ourselves and not making money for other people. And therefore, we get the benefits of, we reap the benefits of our efforts personally. And then some of us dream about just having a lifestyle business, having something that where our work works around us. So whatever the dream was that you had when you first went into business, I hope you're still holding on to that dream. And maybe, through this process, we can start to say, well, actually, you know what? Why not dream bigger? So dreams is where everything starts. Now, when we actually put a time limit on those dreams and make them a bit more specific and talk about some measurables behind them, then we're turning those into goals. And I'm going to say that, every success-orientated person I have ever met is extremely goal-focused. Now, success leaves clues. If you just listen to that statement, every success-orientated person is extremely goal-focused. How goal-focused are you? Maybe ask yourself, when we go through this, maybe you want to give yourself a mark out of 10 on all of these areas. So how vivid are your dreams? How inspiring, how passionate are you about your dreams? Number one. Number two, on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about your goals? Have you got them written down? Have you got any goals? These are the sorts of things that we really need to be getting to at least an 8 or a 9 or a 10 out of 10 on. Next, we've got to do some learning. I'm putting learning in there before the planning, guys, because look, at the end of the day, I hear people setting goals all the time, and they set mediocre goals based on the fact that they don't actually know how to achieve the goals that they really want to go for. So they set themselves low targets based on what they know now. But here's the thing, you will never know it all, and you don't know what you don't know. The best advice that I was ever given is go and find someone else that's cut a path through the jungle rather than trying to cut your own path through the jungle. That's why as a business owner myself, I invested in coaching to get somebody to guide me and guide my learning. And I can tell you now, I'm not shy at admitting I've invested £250,000 in my own personal development as a business owner. Now, that might sound like an awful lot to you, but have I got a return on investment? Hell yes, I have, and I continue to get a return on investment. And that's the point. You will never get a better return on investment on anything in your life other than the investment that you make in yourself, the investment that you make in the real estate between your ears. One of my mentors has always says, if you want to earn more, you've got to learn more. The only place that earning comes before learning is in the dictionary. So mark yourself out of 10. How good are you? How committed are you to your personal development? Has it become a daily habit? Are you journaling the stuff that you're learning? Are you teaching the stuff that you're learning to other people? That for me is 10 out of 10. Next, we've got to do the planning. There's absolutely no way in the world that you will ever get your goals unless you do the planning, and unless it happens by accident. Okay, now that's just the same as kind of putting your money on red or black, or maybe even you may be putting your money on the lottery. Okay, planning is your deliberate steps, testing and measuring all the way along. Am I actually on track to achieving my goals? And what's the gap between where I wanted to be and where I actually am now? And what's the difference between those two things, and what can I do about it? The constant discipline of planning is something that is absolutely vital if you're going to achieve your goals in business. Now, here's the thing. The reason why I'm doing this webinar today isn't because I'm going to do a plan with you. That's next week, okay? I actually think that it's the real reason why many business owners don't do a plan is because nobody's actually taught them how to do one. The best I've seen is when people have actually said, well, I did a business plan to get some funding for my bank. And I've looked at those business plans, and I've even done those business plans myself, ladies and gentlemen, and they're not necessarily usable day-to-day, schedulable, if that is a word, plans that you can actually make sure that you're using to get you to your goals. They're just not practical. So we've got to have the skill of planning. And the challenge is if you don't have the skill of planning and you try to plan and you fail, let's say, then you quite often will quit. You'll say, you know what, planning doesn't work for me, or I'm just not that kind of person that needs to do a plan, okay? But you see, that's just crazy. I mean, how long do you give your average baby to learn how to walk before you turn around and say, you know what, you're going to be a crawler for the rest of your life? Planning is a skill that you absolutely need to learn if you're in business. So don't quit on it. The process of doing plans on a regular basis will, if you do it the way I'm going to show you today, it will mean that you will get better at the skill of planning. And the beauty of being really good at the skill of planning is it's the closest thing I've ever come across, which is predicting the future. You know, it's impossible. Crystal balls don't exist. But actually, if you get really good at planning, that is the closest thing to predicting the future that you will ever have. So today is all about that skill of planning. But of course, plans mean nothing if you're not prepared to take the action. You know, we're not called a we'll get round to it coach. We're not called sit here, listen to a webinar, take some notes, go away and do nothing coach. We're called action coach for a reason. You know, that is in our DNA. If you are not making decisions and taking massive action, if you're not planning and putting into place the plans that you've made and turning those into real tangible actions, it's been a waste of time. So you've got to have that discipline to do that as well. And in my experience, most of us don't have enough discipline to do it. You need somebody else to hold you accountable, which is again why coaching is so valuable. You have somebody kicking your backside to make sure that you're taking the actions. It's a little bit like if any of you have got kids, when you first teach them to clean their teeth, do you tell them once and then forever they clean their teeth in the morning and in the evening? No. You have to tell them over and over and over again until it becomes a habit. And to be honest with you, that's pretty much the same in my experience with all of this stuff as well. Unless you've got someone there holding you accountable, unless you've got someone there, you know, with a stick to your backside to make sure, holding your ass to the wire, if you like, to make sure that you're doing all this stuff, you're far less likely to take the action. I believed once upon a time that I could do it all on my own. That belief has definitely disappeared from me. And I never have met anybody now that I believe could do it on their own. They may think they can, but the reality is you do need somebody else to help hold you accountable to doing those actions. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, simple formula for success. So maybe not now, but maybe at some time over the next, well, maybe later on today, maybe you want to take a screenshot of this. Maybe you want to write this down. Maybe you want to go give yourself a mark out of 10 for all of those areas right now and see where are the areas that you need to improve. Because if you can get this formula nailed, success is assured. Okay, so the next thing, brilliant book, one of my favorite books of all time. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Raise your hands if you've read that one. Okay, fantastic. We've got a few people on the line that are already personal development gurus because you're reading the same books as me. Fantastic book. It is one of my favorite books, and I live by the 7 habits and also the 8th habit, which is why I called my business the 8th habit. But one of the things that Stephen Covey says in there, and one of the 7 habits is begin with the end in mind, start with the end in mind. If you don't know where you want to end up, what direction do you need to travel in to get there? It's impossible. If you're not crystal clear about where you want to end up, then it's a little bit like just bobbing down a river and the river takes you wherever it wants to. In other words, your environment is controlling you rather than you controlling it. The starting point to all goal achievement is desire. So setting a goal without any desire to achieve it is a complete waste of time. Now, I do a goal setting mastery session, and I really am very clear about this. Unless you can write a really strong paragraph with passion and feeling as to why you've actually created a goal, it's not really a goal. Okay, so goal setting for the sake of it, no point to that. You've got to have a strong purpose and be passionate about whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And see, this is a challenge for many people, because we seem to think that our goals always have to be around money. The challenge there is that money is a digital number, it's logical, there's no emotion behind it. What money can do for us, the life that money can create for us, the way in which life can help us to, money can help us to fulfill other things that we want to do in our lives. Now, those things we can get emotional about. So begin with the end in mind, really, really important, but you've got to have a desire over a thing that you're actually wanting to achieve. So here's the question then. Why set goals? In your chat box, please. Answer that question. Why set goals? For direction, it gives you focus, to have something to aim for, to make your dreams a reality. Focus, we've got. Focus, direction, absolutely. Direction. Okay, so that's the first one, okay? Direction and focus. The ultimate purpose of all human action is the achievement of personal happiness, and happiness requires goals. Setting goals, working toward them day by day, and ultimately achieving them is the key to happiness in life. Goals give you a sense of meaning and purpose. They give you movement and momentum, and they're about the person that you become. A sense of direction. Invest whatever time is required to get absolute clarity about what you actually want to achieve and who you need to become to achieve it. Because the other formula for success that I haven't mentioned today is your be multiplied by do equals have. In other words, it's not just what you do which will get you the results that you're looking for. It's also the piece of person that you become. The skills, your beliefs, your values, your identity, and how you control your environment. All of those things are just as important, if not sometimes more important, than what actually you do. The greater clarity you have regarding your true goals, the more of your potential you will unleash for good in your life. To unlock and unleash your full potential, you should make a habit of daily goal setting and achieve and keep that habit going for the rest of your life. You see, success isn't achieved in one great big chunk. Success is simple habits repeated daily. That's what success is really all about. So if you can get into the habit of setting yourself daily goals, if you can get into the habit of journaling or creating an achieve list or a frog sheet and working through that, then that's a great place for you to start. But unless it becomes a habit, it's much less likely to happen, because it's just kind of ad hoc stuff that we do. We're not consistent, we're not persistent. And that's what's really important about planning. You know, the daily goals and the daily planning are probably the most important goals and plans that you will ever set. So let's have a look at this, what I call the planning pyramid. So here's a question for you. Raise your hand if you already have a defined set of core values for your business. Raise your hand if you do. I mean a written set of core values for your business. Not good enough. Literally only 3 people on this call. So we really don't have enough people then. So, okay, the rest of you, and those of you who've got them in your chat boxes, what would be the benefit of having a clearly defined written set of core values for your business? What would be the benefit of that? In your chat box, please. It drives our behavior and decision making in the business. Now, this is from someone who actually does have them. Clarity and guidance. Foundation to grow on. Basis for all planning and decision making. Direction and motivation. The rest of the team share your direction. Fantastic. Great comment there from Ben. It would enable better planning. It's who we are. It's our why. Fantastic. Mark, are you, let me just go to Mark here for a second, because I've got a feeling that Mark was one of the people that raised his hand on this point. Mark, okay, Mark, you're self-muted. Can you speak? Hello, Mark. Do you have a...
Yep. Hopefully you can hear me now.
I can hear you, Mark. Yeah, hello there. Welcome. So am I right in thinking you're one of the people that raised your hands when you said you do have written core values for your business?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. And so just explain to us, you said in your comment, it's who we are, it's our why. So do you have a team, Mark?
We do. Yeah, there's 22 of us.
And so how does having those written core values, how do you think that benefits the team?
Very simply, everybody knows what direction we're going in. We're all rowing in the same direction. Without those core values, it's impossible to lead a team and for them to all sign up and to know which way we're pulling.
So has it created a great culture within your business?
Yeah, massively. We're all partners within the business in one way or sense, and it's created that unity amongst all of the team members.
Great. And so everybody knows this is how we do things around here. And do you use those core values as well as a sort of central pillar for when you recruit new people as well?
Yeah, massively. Yeah, it's the pivotal point, whether we take somebody on or not.
Excellent. So you've got people who are high performing and have got high value. So how does that impact you as a business owner?
Well, it means that as the MD of the business, I've got a trusted team of management and staff that all sign up to our goals and our values. And it also means we retain people because they know the direction of the business, they know what we're doing, nothing's hidden. And yeah, as I say, we're all batting together.
Fantastic. So I'm guessing then that you would recommend to everybody else on this call that they get themselves some written core values as well, yes?
100%, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate your input there. So guys, if you haven't got your core values nailed, just raise your hand. Who would like them but doesn't know where to start? Okay, so let's look at some of this stuff in more detail. I understand there's a desire for you to have them. Let's have a look at some of this stuff in a little bit more detail then. Okay, next. On there. The reason why I unmuted Mark is because he prompted this slide for me. Okay, nobody really cares about what and how you do what you do until they understand why. That's your team members, that's all your stakeholders, your team members, it's your customers, it's your suppliers, it's your shareholders. And so we've got to really be clear on our why. There's a great recommendation of a book for you as well by Simon Sinek. It's a pretty famous book, so I'm guessing quite a lot of people may have read it. Raise your hands if you've read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Again, yeah, it's the same people again. It's my personal development gurus are reading these books. It's a great book, guys. And if you don't have time to read the book, just go to TED.com, TED.com, and you will find on there a number of Simon's videos. They're all worth watching. They're only about 17 minutes long, and he explains this thing called the golden circle, which I'm showing you here about the importance of starting with why. He explains that very succinctly in a 17-minute video. He uses the example of Apple, and I would recommend that you either read the book or at least go and have a look at that TED talk, because I think you'll find it very valuable. But we have to understand what our why is. So, we've got to create a company vision. Now, let me ask you, who already has a written business for the business? Who has a written vision for their business? Raise your hands if you do. Yeah, same hands going up, same hands going up. Okay, great. For those of you who have. It's not easy. I would say I've been through the process of creating core values and visions and missions with many business owners. And it's not easy. But it is a piece that is really, really valuable. It requires a fair bit of time, effort, and energy. So anyway, when you work with me, obviously I'm going to help you to do that, because it isn't an easy thing to do if you've got nobody helping you. If you're not working with a coach right now, you might want to go and invest some time checking out how to create a company vision. There's loads of how-to guides on that. And maybe even you want to go and have a look at some videos on that as well. But, you know, some top tips for you. You've got to make sure it's long range. It's got to be something that is attainable. But actually, it's an idealistic view for you. It doesn't have to be, but people talk about realistic, okay? Your vision is idealistic. It may outlive you. You may not see it within your lifetime. The vision of Action Coach is world abundance through business re-education. And the creator of Action Coach, Brad Sugars, created that vision 27 years ago. And we're still on that journey. You know, we haven't created world abundance yet. But you know what? That inspires me every single day. I would love to see a world where it is completely abundant as a result of business, which is a force for good. And if everybody was educated as to, or business owners were educated as how to run their businesses better, we'd have better leaders, we'd better have better companies, we'd have more profit, we'd have more secure teams, we would have people who were enjoying their jobs, loving what they do, good at it, and get paid what they want to get paid. I know it's idealistic, but that's what a vision should be, because that's what really inspires. Next, the vision is sort of setting the stall out where we're going to go. But I'm guessing if you haven't got a vision, you probably don't have a written mission either. So if you have no idea of the destination and you haven't got any idea as to how you're going to get there, how crazy does that say? Imagine that you're one of your kids said to you, or you were trying to coach one of your children at a certain age when they start thinking about what they want to do as a career. And they say they have no idea of what they want to do and no idea of how they're going to get there. You know, what kind of conversation are you having with them? And yet many business owners don't have a vision and they don't have a mission. And the mission is the roadmap. This is how are we actually going to get there? That's the plan of how we're going to get there. So if we pull all of this stuff together, I want you to think about it as if the vision was, let's get to the top of the mountain. And it's a bit like navigation. You're going to get to the top of the mountain. You need to know where you're going and you need to know what your starting point is. In other words, where are you now on the map? And then you need to plan the route that you're taking and find the route on the map. But unless someone has taught you how to navigate, unless you've got some navigation skills or you have a guide, you are likely to get lost in the mountains, okay? And just like a business, that could spell disaster. So if you think about it as the vision is the top of the mountain, the mission is, this is the roadmap as how we're actually going to get there. And the culture is, what kind of people do you want to bring on the journey with you? The goals, these are the staging posts along the way. You know, we need to know, are we actually making progress to our overall goal? So what are the signposts along the way that we need to check in on and say, this is where we are making progress because this is on the path. And exactly as if you were navigating in the hills, you would do exactly the same thing. You don't do a navigation in one great big chunk. You chunk it down into little stages so that you know that you're making progress, because it's much easier to do it one chunk at a time. That's exactly the same way as it works with business planning. So I'm going to talk about the importance of goal setting for a little bit longer before we move on to plan. And what I want to understand is, with using this analogy of the navigation, the goal setting really is the compass as part of that navigation. It's the compass for your brain. And what we tend to do is we use something called the reticular activating system. So first and foremost, raise your hands if you already know what the reticular activating system is, please. David Fisher, you were the first person to raise your hand. So let me find David Fisher and I'm going to unmute him. We get some coaching from David Fisher now, ladies and gentlemen. Very experienced business owner. Sorry, I can't get David on the line because he's using an older version of Zoom. So unfortunately, I can't get him to talk. Somebody else raised their hand. Who else raised their hand for the reticular activating system? Ernie Jackson, let's allow you to talk. Ernie? Ernie, you're self-muted. Do you want to unmute? No, okay, I'm not getting anyone to talk to me at the moment then. So I'm just going to lower all your hands. Can you raise your hand again if you know what the reticular activating system is and you're prepared to be my volunteer to tell everybody else what it is? Come on, guys, 100% participation is what I'm looking for. Ah, brilliant, Jeanette. See, I know I could always rely on Jeanette too. Okay, Jeanette, you are unmuted. Tell us what you know about the reticular activating system.
It's when you decide you might want to purchase a particular car or something, and once you make that decision, you start noticing them everywhere.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. That's a very, very good example. So the thing is about the reticular activating system, because we're taking in millions and millions of pieces of information all the time, all day long, we have to filter out that information. So we don't notice things that aren't important to us. But what we can do is program our subconscious with the things that are important to us, and then our brain starts to notice them. So in Jeanette's example, we weren't thinking about this car beforehand, so we never noticed it. Now all of a sudden we're thinking about buying this particular car and we seem to see it everywhere. This is exactly the same way that goal setting works. If you're really clear, crystal clear about the goals that you're looking for, your subconscious brain, which by the way is 40,000 times more powerful than your conscious brain, will find ways to help you achieve your goals. Because it will look for the things, it will help you to notice the things that you need to notice in order to get your goals met. I hope that makes sense. Thank you very much, Jeanette. If you could mute yourself up again now as well, that would be great. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard this one before, but Harvard University did a study, called it the top 3% study. Between 1979 and 1989, MBA graduates were asked the question, how many had written goals? 3% of them had written goals. 13% had goals but not written down, and 84% had no goals at all. 10 years later, they resurveyed these people. The 13% that had goals but hadn't got them written down were earning on average twice as much as the 84% that had no goals. The 3%, however, on average were earning 10 times as much as the other 97%. Isn't that interesting? Success leaves clues. If the most successful people set written goals, they have written goals, then why don't you? So there's the question for you. Who already has a written set of personal goals? Raise your hands if you do. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, there's just not enough hands going up, you know. You want to be part of the 3%, not a part of the 97%. So, okay, why is it that people don't have written goals, I wonder? In your chat box, tell me, why do you think people don't have written goals? Because the majority of people on this call today don't have written goals. So ask yourself the question, why don't you have written goals? Why do you not have written personal goals for yourself? Still trying to work them out. Fear of failure. Don't take the time to sit down and do them. Got goals in my head and written them down, haven't put a date on it. Okay, that's it's better than nothing. Look, at the end of the day, okay, no clear vision, still finding my way, living day to day, they're in my head, they change all the time. Difference between dreams and goals. Look, guys, let me just say this. I think that in my experience, when I ask this question, I obviously have these discussions all the time with the business owners that I work with. And we do, it's a prerequisite, it's a non-negotiable, we do not go forward, we don't actually end up having written goals written down. I do it in an alignment session with my clients. And you know what? It gives us absolute clarity, not just on what the personal, when we've got the personal goals, we've got absolute clarity on what the business needs to do. Because my belief, and I share it with our mentor, Brad Sugars, is business, we went into business to give us more life. So if we don't have a real clear idea of what the personal goals need to look like, sometimes what happens is the business ends up sucking the life out of us or takes us in a direction that we didn't particularly want to go in. So raise your hands if you would like some help defining and writing your personal goals. Raise your hands if you would. Okay, that's the majority of the people on this call. So I do a mastery session, goal setting mastery session. Obviously, if you stay in touch with me, I'll let you know when I'm doing my next goal setting mastery session. And it's a half day with me. By the end of that, I absolutely guarantee you will have 100% clarity on your personal goals. You'll be able to go away, have them written, and even create some sort of vision board so that you can make sure that you've always got something to look at and work towards. And it gives you a lot more purpose. As we said earlier on, you know, start with why. Okay, so let's talk about the planning then. The things that we actually need to plan in business, first and foremost, is we need to plan our resources. And I'm going to talk about time, team, and money, because those are the three resources, really, the three most important resources that we need to plan in our business. So firstly, then, let's think about the money plan. What does a money plan look like? So in other words, what do we call a money plan? In your chat box, please answer that question. If we're talking about a money plan, what am I on about? What's a money plan? What are we talking about? What's a money plan? In your chat box. In your chat box. P&L, cash flow forecast, cash flow, cash forecast, financial forecast, absolutely right. Budget, forecast, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what we're talking about. So the money plan is your forecasting, it's your budgets, it's your break-even analysis, it's your profit and loss forecast, your cash flow forecast. Totally. What about the plan to achieve the financial plan? So the strategies that we need to put in place to achieve the financial plan. What do we call that? The plan to achieve the financial plan, the strategies behind it. What do we call that in your chat box? Business plan, question mark? It's part of it for sure. What else? Sales and marketing plan, fantastic. Joe Wilson, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I was looking for. See, you know, if you haven't got a sales and marketing machine in your business and you haven't got a plan for sales and marketing, what's actually happening, okay? It's random. We need to have a sales and marketing plan. It's the sales and marketing plan that delivers on the financial plan. That's really, really important. And if you don't have a plan, absolutely, Tor McKenzie, you're just living on hope. And hope isn't a strategy in business. In order to be able to achieve what we want to do with our time, we need to replace ourselves in the business. So the rest of the business plan is about systems and people. So let's start off by looking at the money. First and foremost, how much? In other words, how much do you need? How much do you need to make sure that you can hit all of your personal goals? So if you haven't got an idea of your personal goals, this isn't really going to help you that much, but you'll understand why it's important to set yourself personal goals. What I would be doing now, if you had an idea of your personal goals, is I'd ask you to look at those personal goals and in 5 years' time, decide how much do you need to earn, how much do you need as profit in your business, how much do you want to invest, how much do you want to keep in your business to keep the business growing. In other words, how much profit do you need to be making in 5 years' time? Then I would get you to look at your goals for 3 years' time, your personal goals for 3 years' time, and say, what does the business need to be making in profit in 3 years' time? And then I'd ask you to be thinking about, well, what does that business need to be making in 1 year's time? So we start with the slightly longer range goals, we then pull it back to a medium range goal, and then we pull it back to a shorter range goal. But if we haven't got any clarity over that, we don't really know what the business wants to make. And what we end up doing is just doing it for the sake of it. And that isn't a plan. That is just living by hope and wishes and, you know, let's see if we get there. So we have to be absolutely clear about this. Always put your profit first. By the way, there's a great book called Profit First, and Profit First book is written by Mike Mikovits. Anybody read Profit First? Raise your hands if you have. Suzanne, I'm really, I don't know if this is Petra or Suzanne that keeps putting their hand up here, but I'm going to unmute you because I am thoroughly impressed with the amount of personal development you've done. Let me just find you. Where are you? Suzanne. Let's get Suzanne on the line here. Hey, is that Suzanne or Petra?
It's both of us. Both of us. And in fact, the Profit First one, Petra's read, but I haven't read it yet. But all the others we've both read.
Okay, but you really are nailing it with your books. So do you have a habit of personal development? Are you always reading and listening to audiobooks and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Always.
every day.
So would you recommend that to other people on the line?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, definitely. It changed the way you see your business.
Yeah, and your life, right? Because
Yes, yes, yes.
fantastic. Well, listen, well done for that. Did you enjoy the Profit First book?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good book, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. If you just mute yourself up again now, that would be great. So we always want to put our profit first. I've put a bit of a formula on here for you. Now, I'm not going to go into this in massive detail. If you want to do a financial mastery session with me, then let me know. Keep in touch. We can do financial. I spread them over 2 days. Got a couple of financial mastery sessions coming up in the autumn. So if you want to avail yourself of that, we'll go through a completely different way of looking at how you actually work out your forecasts. A completely different way of looking at forecasting and making sure that actually you make the profit that you deserve to make. And putting your profit first is always the best thing when you're going to be doing a forecast. So put your profit first and work backwards. How many sales do you need based on your profit plus the fixed cost in the business? What's your average order value? How many transactions, therefore, do you need? What's your conversion rate? How many leads do you need to generate? These are the important metrics that we need to be looking at. When we put all of that stuff together, the financial plan starts to look a little bit like this in my book. A forecast with a difference. So you start with your profit and you work upwards. Plan each and every element, all of the different elements to achieve your profit goals, and break it down to its component parts. And then you've got a target for each one of these and a way of recording actual performance against your target. So your job as a business owner is to own this dashboard and then look at the gaps with your coach to make sure that you fill those gaps. Then if we want to do it year by year, we've got a really great idea as to where we're going to go in 5 years, maybe even 10 years. And if you look at this particular business, the numbers in blue are leads, conversions, transactions, average order values, and profit margins. Well, when you work with me, we have over 400 strategies for improving each of these areas to make sure you attain your goals. But what's really important is, if you understand that you only need a 10% increase in all of these areas to get the kind of result that I'm showing you on the screen. So each of those different areas has just improved by 10% every year. And look at the result. The client starts off in year one or year zero, if you like, with £50,000 in profit. And then by the very end, by year 10, this business is making nearly £6 million in profit. Now, that seems, if I said that to you and you didn't realize that what they were actually doing was using the compound effect to grow their business, maybe you'd be confused as how can a business go from 50 grand profit to nearly 6 million in 10 years? Well, this is how they do it. Okay, so if you want the secret of how businesses scale from back bedrooms to being global concerns, this is exactly how they do it. It's really, really easy stuff. Brilliant. So we talked about the money plan then. Let's talk about the time plan. That's really important, isn't it? In fact, is it more important potentially? So, you know, in terms of when you start looking at your personal goals, money is important. I understand that because it will help you have a certain type of lifestyle. But I'm sure you agree with me, time is more important. You know, wise man once said to me, Stuart, when you've spent your last penny, you can go and make more money, but when you've spent your last minute on this earth, you won't get a single second of it back. And that's absolutely true. So we need to be absolutely certain about what is it we want to be doing with our time in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, so that we can structure our business to make sure we've got the time to be doing the stuff that we want to, whether that's spending time with friends and family or doing more in your local community or giving back to charity, whatever it is, traveling the world, going on to concerts, whatever it is that you want to do. So again, I'd be having you do an exercise now, which would be looking at your personal goals in 5 years' time and deciding how much time do you need to do the things that you want? How many days will you be working? How many will you be having fun? And what else will you be doing? Then I'd be having you look at what are you doing in 3 years, and then I'd have you look at what do you want to be doing in 1 year as well. Because unless we know that, we can't plan what we need to do in order to achieve all of that stuff. So Another great book. By the way, all of these book recommendations, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're writing them down because they're all fantastic books. Raise your hand if you have read the Cashflow Quadrant. First and foremost, we've got Suzanne and Petra raising their hand. The Cashflow Quadrant was written by a guy called Robert Kiyosaki. And, you know, the basics, on the basis of this, what we've got here is a matrix. And on the left-hand side, we've got all of those people who are currently trading their time for money. In other words, they have a job or they own a job. They're employed or they're self-employed. Now, the average person that's employed in the UK earns £24,000. And if they work 37.5 hours a week, that means they're trading their precious hours for around about £12 an hour. Your average self-employed work person earns more like £35,000 a year. But do they work 37.5 hours a week? Doubtful. What they're generally doing is working much more than 37.5 hours a week. So when they actually break down their hourly rate, it can sometimes be a little bit scary. So on the left-hand side of the quadrant, we're trading time for money. On the right-hand side of the quadrant, we're trading money for time. And that's either our money or someone else's money. We are trading other people's time for more time. In other words, if we've got a team of people, then we can be out of our business because they can be running the business for us. We're trading other people's time for money. In other words, if we're a business owner, which is what the B stands for there, a business owner owns a system. They own a business. They don't run it. They're not involved in it anymore. They just own the damn thing, which means that they're trading other people's time for money. They're trading other people's time for more time. They're trading money for more money. In other words, they're in the investor quadrant there as well. The I stands for investor quadrant, where you're trading money for more money, and the investor owns assets. And your business itself is an asset that generates income for you while you sleep when you get it to the other side. So how do we achieve that? With me, we achieve it with the 6 Steps Coaching Ladder. The Action Coach, 6 steps, proven strategies for getting you to the point where you have a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. Now, if you don't want a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, the only other way to be on the right-hand side of the quadrant is to be an investor, which means you need to cash flow a lot more money than you need to live on to invest in assets. Assets such as property, stocks, shares, bonds, all of the things that will make money for you while you sleep. Now, I hope that makes sense, but I really recommend you read the book Cashflow Quadrant and his first book as well, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great books for understanding how to get onto the right-hand side where you are now free to do what the hell you want. And you've got the time and you've got the money. So let's have a look at that commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. Raise your hands on the call now if you would like your business to work without you. In other words, to create passive income for you. Raise your hands if you would. Okay, so that's pretty much everybody on the line. I'm really glad to hear that. Some of you maybe want to do it the other way, which is to invest. But if you've all got a business right now, let me tell you this, and I'm going to say this is an absolute 100% guarantee. If I could get you to 10 out of 10 in every single one of these areas, I promise you, faithfully promise you, you will have a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. How do I know? Because I've done it myself. And I do it with many, many of the clients that I work with right now. Every single client that I'm working with right now, their goal is the same. They want to be financially free. They want to be financially independent. And some of them want to be financially opulent as well, which is when we're talking about massive results at the very top there, where you've got time and money to do what the hell you want. And yet, generally, what I find with those people is they have multiple businesses, or they have businesses and they have property. And, you know, that's where real wealth starts to be created, where you no longer have to work in a business. You have the time and the money to be that business owner investor on the right-hand side of the quadrant. So what about team then? Because you can't have a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you unless you've got a team of people working with you, or you have a totally leveraged business which doesn't require any input from anybody. Which, you know, there are some of them out there. And obviously, if that's your goal, I can help you with that, because some of the people that I'm working with right now are creating leveraged online businesses, which means they don't need to necessarily have any team as well. But most of us, if we're going to have that commercial profitable enterprise that works without us, we're going to need some team members. So the questions we need to ask are, how many will you need based on the plan, the goals that you're setting yourself? What roles would they have and who will manage them? So the best starting point for me for that, and if you were on my systemization webinar last week, I recommended that you create your ideal organization chart of what the business looks like when it's finished. And right now, put the initials of the people who are doing those roles, and now you've got a succession plan. So you've got your manpower plan. You need to have a manpower plan as well as a financial plan, as well as a sales and marketing plan, because you need to have enough resources in order to be able to keep up with the demand that your sales and marketing machine is going to create for you. So what does a business look like when it's finished is a really good place to start, okay? So design that organization chart. Think about, what does this business look like when it's finished? Who's in the jobs that I've created in this business? Then what you want to do is cost out each of those roles as well. So how much will you have to pay each of those people in those particular roles? Then put those costs into your financial forecasts. Make sure you've included all the functional areas in the business. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to create position agreements for each and every role. Again, if you haven't used position agreements before, when you work with me, we'll take you through this stuff with a template and give you best practice from thousands of other businesses of how they've done this stuff. What you end up doing is breaking down all the functional areas in the business so you have a plan for making sure that each of those areas is covered, both by systems and technology and by people, okay? So again, if you haven't availed yourself of my systemization webinar, it was recorded and it is on my YouTube channel, The 7-Day Weekend. So all of this we talked about long range, medium range goals. How do we eat an elephant? Well, they say you do it one chunk at a time. So what we need to do is now dial that back to the next 90 days. So what's your plan for the next 90 days? That's the question to be asking. Raise your hand if you already have a plan for the next 90 days, please. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So it's most of the people that are working with me have a 90-day plan. I'm interested in speaking to someone who isn't currently working with me to find out what they're doing. So I know what we do, but I'm going to just speak to Catherine. Catherine Clark, you're unmuted or you're self-muted. Can you speak to us? Hello, Catherine. Do you have you are unmuted at your end? No. Okay, can't hear from Catherine. You know, guys, we need to get your technology sorted out. If we've got if we don't have any microphones and you can't participate in these meetings. That's a shame. I was going to ask Catherine because I don't recognize Catherine. I don't think we're not working together. So it'd be lovely to find out what kind of plan Catherine has done for the next 90 days to move her closer to her goals. But those of you who are working with me, you're going to know this stuff anyway. But don't forget, I know are the two most expensive words in business. I guess you showed up to this webinar to reinforce the stuff that you already know. The rest of you, I'm just going to run through what it is that we do as a business community to get our 90-day plans done. Okay, 90-day plan then. So we start first of all with the 12 months. So I talked about looking at the 5 years, looking at the 3 years, and then dialing it back to 12 months. Every journey of 1,000 miles starts with the very first step. So let's look at the 12 months as being not necessarily the first step, but it's one of those milestones that we could be looking at. Okay, so SMART goals then. I don't really care about the A and the R because sometimes they're interchangeable. Some people say, well, you've got to make them achievable or they've got to be accurate. And some people say, well, it's more about being realistic or it's results bound. Don't really care about the A and the R. I think they just chuck those in there to make it into a real word, SMART. It's the S, the M, and the T that I'm really bothered about. Are they specific? Are they measurable? And are they time bound? Well, if they're 90 days as a plan, then they're time bound. So then we have to look at the specific and the measurable. If you're setting yourself goals and they're not specific and you can't measure them with numbers, then for me, they're not a really great, clear goal. So one of the things that we do in our 90-day planning sessions, and the first thing that I tend to find I have to work with business owners is making sure that they've got absolutely 100% clarity on those goals. Then we're going to have to bring it back to the 90 days. What are the SMART goals for the next 90 days? And then I want to get real clarity on why is it you want to achieve those things. And it's very difficult to get the why unless you've got the overarching 3 years, 5 years, 10-year goals really clear as well. Because, you know, what the hell are you actually aiming for? Remember, we want to get to the top of that mountain. And this is just a milestone on the way. 90 days is a really good milestone to aim for. 13 weeks. It's not too much, and it's not too much, and it's not too little. It's just about right. It's the Goldilocks zone for planning, if you like. Then we work from mastery up. What I'm talking about there is that 6 steps process. And what I have with my business planning sessions is I have a huge, great big checklist of everything that needs to be achieved in that 6 steps process in order for you to get yourself to a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So yes, we're talking financial plans. Yes, we're talking about sales and marketing plans. And yes, we're talking about how do I need to systemize my business and what team do I need to build to get the business working without me, including the management team as well. Next, we brainstorm strategies, ideas, and we prioritize those. So we look at the things you want to achieve in the next 90 days, and then we go through the ideas and strategies and say, okay, so which of these ideas and strategies and which of these boxes do we need to tick? And which of the ones are most likely to get us to our 90-day goals? Because we can't do everything. So let's do the most important stuff first, not the easy stuff, the most important stuff first. So we do that second. Then what we want to do is basically list everything. You know, a plan starts with a great big to-do list. In other words, so we know why we want to do this stuff. We know what the goal is. Now we want to know what actions, strategies, systems, what are we going to actually do to actually hit these goals? What are the actions, the activities that we're going to put in place? Remember, one of the most important elements really of the formula for success is taking action. So this is the action piece. Next, who is going to do it? Who's responsible for it? Who's actually going to take those actions? Next, how are they going to do it? So what are the actual strategies are they going to be putting in place? Really importantly as well, how long do you think it's going to take? You see, the skill of planning is really in this piece here. Estimating how long things are going to take, then seeing how long they actually took, okay? Because what most of us do is we underestimate how long things are going to take. But if you haven't got how many hours do I think this thing is going to take, or how many hours a week does this need to be done for over this period of time, then you're not going to be in a position to do the most important part of the plan, which is scheduling the damn stuff. Then when you actually schedule it and you look back and you say, well, okay, so I thought it was going to take 5 hours, it's actually taken 7. What will happen is you will start to see the variance in your estimations as to how long things will take. And then you'll start getting better at estimating how long things will take. Then you'll get better at scheduling how the things that you need to do. And then you're going to be in a position where you're virtually predicting the future. If that makes sense, please raise your hands. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. It's such an important piece there. And then the last thing is when. In other words, if there's no deadline to this stuff, again, there's no pressure on to get it. There's no pressure on you to get it done. Okay, so we need to make sure that all of those elements are in there. Then we've got to get this whole stuff down to a one-page plan, because we want something that we can see as a map, if you like. You know, a map is a one-pager. I do navigation all the time in the Yorkshire Dales, which is where I live, and I use those maps all the time, and it's just one page, and it's the easiest thing because looking at it on one page just makes it simple. So we want to get it down to one page. So we want to aim for just 1 or 2 strategies a week if you're really busy at the moment working in your business. Because one of the most frustrating things is over planning and not achieving it. And what that does to us mentally is it starts to make us feel like we're failing. And when we start to feel like we're failing, our energy is low and we're nowhere near as motivated. I want to catch you doing this stuff well so that you continue to be motivated to achieve all of this stuff. You only need to take the first step and then just one step at a time. So don't overdo it. You know, I always say to business owners that I work with when I first start working with them, 4 or 5 hours a week is enough for working on your business to begin with, okay? As you start to work through it, you will free up more of your time for working on the business, and then the curve becomes exponential as to how quickly you get your business finished. But to begin with, just aiming for 1 or 2 strategies a week will help you to get the confidence and be successful at doing the plan. One of the most important things with this when you're starting is to be successful at the plan, because then you will be more motivated to keep on the journey. Too many times I've seen people start planning and then stop doing it. And they stop doing it for many different reasons, but one of them is that they just feel like it's not working. It's better to make, as I said earlier on, go for the most important things rather than the easiest. So if you've ever read the book Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, raise your hand. First hand that goes up, Petra, Suzanne, fantastic. If I come across a book that you guys haven't read, I'm going to challenge myself to do that. That would be amazing. Brilliant book, guys. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, one of the best time management books ever written. And he talks about the frogs and the rocks in your diary and the most important things first. And that's not just in your 90-day plan, that's also in your day-to-day plan. Getting the first things, getting the most important things done first gives you the energy for the rest of the day. Also, ask yourself this question: which strategies will you need the most coaching on, and what new skills will be needed? Remember, I said at the very beginning of this, the formula for success has to include the learning. So you need to know, okay, one thing that's really important here, we talked about goal setting earlier on. Don't ever set a goal without with the express understanding of what you feel you need to do to achieve that goal. It's far better to set a goal with no idea as to how you're going to achieve it. When I first started as a coach, an action coach, I said that my stated vision was to help 10,000 business owners become financially free. And at the time, I had no idea how I was going to achieve it. And now, in my 4th year as a coach, I'm proud to say that I'm 2020 Coach of the Year for Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. And I have figured it out. I have figured it out. And that's the thing I want you all to do. Create your goal and then figure out how to do it, okay? A goal that inspires you, that motivates you, that gets you juiced up, and then we'll figure out how you do it, okay? Got to understand, you do not have the skills and knowledge right now maybe to achieve those goals, but the skills and knowledge are out there. You know, just ask Petra and Suzanne. I remember when I committed to personal development, I was running one day, listening to an audiobook by Zig Ziglar, and I had this amazing feeling that all of a sudden I realized that all the information I needed to be as successful as I wanted to be is out there. I just needed to go and get it, okay? So which strategies will you need the most coaching on, and what new skills are you going to need? If the learning isn't part of your plan, you're missing a massive trick, because Jim Rohn put it really well. Again, if you've never read anything by Jim Rohn, start with 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness, an amazing book. And by the way, there's a fantastic goal setting exercise in that book, 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness. And he put it really well. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business. If you work hard on your business, you can make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. So don't ignore the learning as part of your plan. Really important. So what about implementing your plan? Always look at it on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, but do it at the end of the week for the following week. Plan next week, this week. Schedule the tasks in your diary. I was having a conversation with a really lovely client yesterday, and we were talking about the fact that not in a million years, he's so conscientious, he cares so much about his clients, he is deeply, deeply conscientious about the work that he does for his clients. And I asked him, I said, would you ever in a million years miss an appointment with a client or a prospect on site? And he said, no, not in a million years. And I knew he wouldn't. And yet, many of us make appointments with ourselves to do the tasks that will actually get us to our eventual goals, and we will pass them up for an appointment with a client. What's that about? How is that any different from having a job? You're at the behest of someone else. In other words, your environment is controlling you, not you controlling it. You treat these rocks in your diary, you treat these tasks that you schedule in your diary equally, if not more important than the meetings that you have with your clients. Because if you don't, you're always going to have a job. If you do, you will eventually have a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And guess what? You'll be able to serve way more customers, way better than you could do as a one-man band, as a one-man individual, as a solopreneur. I promise you. Plan for tomorrow today. Same principle. Don't start the day without the plan of knowing what you're going to do. At the end of every day, we've got to be planning what we're going to do tomorrow. So, you know, you've got to use the tools in our system, or you've got to use tools of your own in order to be able to do that. Hit the ground running. You'll feel so much better about it. Make sure at the end of every day as well, before you plan tomorrow, you reflect on the progress you made today. You know, most of what I do as a coach is gap analysis. Where do you want to be? Where are you now? Are you now? What was your plan and what did you actually achieve? And if you're doing that on a daily basis, guess what? Well, you tell me, what would be the benefits of reflecting on your daily progress on a day-to-day basis? In your chat box, please, what would be the benefits of doing that? Feel good when you achieve it? Absolutely you do. You can be more accurate as you learn. Absolutely you can. More realistic planning, sense of achievement. Indeed. Make sure your plan is realistic. Absolutely. Sleep easy knowing it's done. Over time you can begin to see patterns and where you're resisting or where help and learning is needed. Clarity. Absolutely. You see, reflection is about going into the past. And I'm only talking about going into the past for one day. And going into the past, there's only two reasons to go into the past. Number one, to learn from it. So I planned to do this, I didn't quite get it done. In other words, there was a difference between what I said I was going to do and what I was going to do. What caused that difference? How do I remove the barriers going forward so that I can get the stuff done that I say that I needed to? Okay. And then the second thing is to give you strength and confidence. And exactly as some of you have said, the sense of achievement. Really important to be reflecting on that before you make the plan for the following day. Get a coach to help you. Absolutely vital. I mean, it's a belief, ladies and gentlemen, and a belief for me is unshakable because my belief has been built up over the years by having somebody to hold me accountable, having somebody to answer to, having somebody to bounce my ideas off, having somebody to learn from, having somebody to plan with. That has really, really helped me, and that's why I became a coach myself. If it's not for you, if coaching isn't for you, at least get yourself an accountability partner. And that's not someone that is going to be nice to you, by the way. That's someone who's going to hold up the mirror and tell you when you are being a complete idiot, okay? That is someone who's going to push you and challenge you. Get yourself somebody in your life that can help you do that. And use time management tools, really importantly. If you're working with me, you're going to work with me on things like the default diary, the time log, Clockify, Hive, Harvest, Trello, Asana, Monday. You're going to work with me with things like frog sheets, focus sheets, skill fund matrices, habit trackers. All of those time management tools are fabulous ways to make sure that you get your stuff done.